Nutrigrain stormed onto Aussie shelves and gave breakfast a jolt of adrenaline. The quiet, mundane meal of the day suddenly shifted from sitting politely at the table to embracing a cinematic fantasy of powering through waves, hoisting impossible weights, and winning grueling races, all before the school bell rang. Against all odds and nutritional logic, the box of crunchy 3-holed rectangles evolved beyond simple food. It solidified its place as a symbol of strength and a badge of honor, sitting right next to the Weet-Bix and the Milo. So how in the world did Nutrigrain pull this off? Today, we're cracking open the box and diving deep into the story behind Australia's most jacked cereal. In 1973, Kellogg's Australia cooked up Nutrigrain to be an original creation specifically designed for the local market. To this day, the cereal version is still only sold in Australia and New Zealand. The strategy behind its creation was pure genius. At the time, the Australian breakfast aisle was a fortress of wholesome family staples. You had the dependable foundation of Weet-Bix and the simple, familiar crunch of cornflakes. Kellogg's identified an unguarded territory. Rather than challenge these titans on their wholesome, family-friendly turf, they aimed to create something entirely new, a product fueled by action and attitude. Nutrigrain in Australia was a unique blend of corn, oats, and wheat, forged into a shape that was chunkier and far denser than anything else on the market. Australians absolutely loved it. Over time, the Australian cereal became so popular and so distinct that it completely eclipsed the American bar-based sibling. Kellogg's blasted Nutrigrain into the national consciousness with a full-scale partnership with the grueling and visually spectacular Ironman series. From the early 1980s, Kellogg's intertwined its brand so deeply with the event that the two became synonymous. This created the Kellogg's Nutrigrain Ironman series, a true cultural phenomenon. The marketing campaign was a loud, confident spectacle of pure testosterone. It painted a vivid picture of surf lifesavers with sun-bleached hair and chiseled abs charging through waves in slow motion. The ads wove a compelling myth that their glory on the sand came from a combination of relentless training and the iconic brown box in their kitchen cupboard. For decades afterwards, the phrase Ironman conjured a single, potent image of a sun-soaked athlete in Speedos, his chest emblazoned with the Nutrigrain logo. Thanks to this powerful branding, Nutrigrain quickly escaped the confines of the breakfast bowl. It spilled into lunchboxes, gym bags, and the glove compartments of rusty Holden utes. It became the unofficial, undisputed champion of after-school snackers and dry cereal munchers everywhere. People were devouring it straight from the box in numbers that would make nutritionists weep. A huge part of Nutrigrain's success is the texture. It possesses a crisp, dense, and deeply satisfying crunch that hits different from any other cereal. It doesn't go soggy the second it touches milk, but it doesn't threaten to break your teeth either. Then there's the flavor, a complex blend somewhere between malt, caramel, and brown sugar that is strong enough to feel indulgent without being sickly sweet like many kid-focused cereals. It was a crunchy, comforting chaos in a bowl. Or, more often, in a fist, a mug, or a hoodie pocket. This transformed Nutrigrain from a breakfast option into a default snack for anyone too lazy to make toast, but too hungry to wait for dinner. It was the perfect food for unsupervised kids and teenagers. The ultimate low-effort, high-reward snack. Their strategy was simple and brutally effective. While other brands used cartoon characters and happy families, Nutrigrain's marketing pointed at a speedboat, slapped a picture of a guy with an 8-pack on the box, and essentially yelled, "Eat this if you want to be a legend." Teenage boys gravitated toward it like it was creatine in cereal form. This created what marketers call a permission structure. The Ironman food slogan gave kids and their parents a perfect excuse to buy what was, in reality, a high-sugar, highly processed snack. The kids could say, "But mum, it's for sport, it's Ironman food." And the parents, seeing the images of peak physical fitness, would often agree, thinking they were buying something that supported an active lifestyle. Eventually, however, the sugar high had to crash. By the early 2010s, the cultural conversation around food had shifted dramatically. Suddenly, Nutrigrain's whole macho, high-performance image started to look a little less heroic and a lot more suspicious. health advocates and consumer groups began calling Nutrigrain out for their high sugar content, and the brand's reputation as a healthy choice began to crumble. In 2014, facing immense pressure in a changing market, Kellogg's Australia pulled the trigger on a massive, high-stakes reformulation. They drastically dropped the sugar content, boosted the fiber, and added more B vitamins, all while desperately trying to maintain the iconic taste and crunch that people loved. It was an incredibly bold and risky move. The new, healthier version hit shelves with about 25% less sugar, new packaging proudly displaying its 4-star health rating and updated nutritional claims. But not everyone was happy. Despite the backlash, Kellogg's stuck to its guns, correctly realizing that if Nutrigrain was going to survive for another 50 years, it needed to evolve. They've since created a diverse portfolio, with the reformulated classic for the masses and new, higher protein, lower sugar variants like Nutrigrain Edge for the modern, fitness-focused consumer. And while we're dissecting the Nutrigrain phenomenon, we have to talk about the shape. Those chunky golden bricks with their 3 distinctive holes are an iconic piece of food engineering. The shape maximizes what experts call fracturability. The 3 holes create specific weak points in the structure, meaning that when you bite down, it shatters in a predictable and highly satisfying way. This enhances both the auditory experience and the textural sensation in your mouth. Furthermore, the design is a masterclass in milk dynamics. The dense, thick walls of the brick provide excellent resistance to sogginess. Meanwhile, the 3 holes act as tiny reservoirs, trapping milk and delivering it with each bite, ensuring you get the perfect combination of crunchy cereal and cold milk. The manufacturing process itself, known as extrusion cooking, is like something out of a science fiction factory. A dough of corn, oats, and wheat is forced under high pressure through a specially designed die. As it exits, the sudden drop in pressure causes the dough to puff up and solidify, creating the light yet dense structure we know. It's a marvel of cereal engineering, a shape so distinctive that even if you haven't eaten it in years, you can picture it perfectly in your mind. Despite the sugar scandals, divisive reformulations, and ever-changing food trends, Nutrigrain remains one of Australia's top-selling cereals. It consistently ranks in the top 5, holding its own against timeless legacy brands like Weet-Bix and Corn Flakes. The secret to its longevity is a powerful, unwavering sense of identity. Nutrigrain's conquest was never about being the healthiest, the cheapest, or the most wholesome. The brand won by telling the most compelling story, a narrative that transformed the product in the minds of millions. The box offered the promise of performance fuel, the thrill of adventure, and the aspiration of a breakfast with a 6-pack. So, the next time you walk down that cereal aisle and see that familiar brown box under the fluorescent lights, take a moment. You're looking at a cultural relic, a masterpiece of marketing, a snackable legend, and perhaps the only cereal in history that genuinely made millions of kids feel like they could do a few push-ups after eating it. But what do you think? Is Nutrigrain a timeless Aussie legend, or is it just a sugary piece of 90s nostalgia living on borrowed time? Did you eat it dry from the box or drowning in milk? Drop your thoughts and memories in the comments below. We'd love to hear your stories. And if you enjoyed this crunchy deep dive, make sure to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, stay curious.